We are motherfucking live, Mr. Gracey, show 91.
Yo, 91. Damn, getting up there.
Fucking A, dude.
What are you doing for 100?
Oh, that's...
Who's on for 100? Do we have a guest for 100?
We can't let them know because it's a very special guest. And it's the day we debut the Gracious 2 Inches OnlyFans. So,
it's coming.
It's coming. And we will be coming on there, if you know what I mean. Hey, now.
Got an inch each.
Yes. Yes, baby. Chad, I got a very special treat for the audience today.
Ooh.
I'm doing it without your knowledge. It is unreleased live song that I would like to share for everybody. So before you can tell me no, without further ado, folks, Don't Wait, I Lie. Killer drums, dude. Killer.
There you go.
Who breaks the song down better than you fucking for, dude? This is a fucking, it's like a time change. It's like a fuck, I don't know what's going on. Bang it.
Take it to the bridge.
And here we go. Drums, dude. Oh, sick. Did I stop sharing that?
You stop sharing that, yes.
Holy shit. So, Chad, that was supposed to be on the Distance to Hear?
Yes. That was one of the songs we wrote for Distance to Hear. We actually recorded it, but didn't get on.
So that...
Don't Wait and There's No One Change, I believe.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That was the direction that the four of you in a room were going.
Oh, one of the directions, yeah. I mean, we wrote all the songs in Distance to Hear kind of in the same period, so.
Sick, dude.
I was going a little more rocking with those songs, but.
Now, we do have Tom Lord-Alge in the green room. We're going to be getting to him soon, but just so he's aware, that wasn't a engineered or mixed song, so that he's probably going crazy. Like, I could have done.
I don't know if it's mixed or not, so I'm not sure.
Well, don't listen to me. I have no clue what I'm talking about. I do talk out of my.
It might have been mixed because it was taken off of the record during mastering, or wasn't put on for during mastering, I believe.
Aha.
Shit's getting cloudy back then, Duddy.
Sure. I mean, it's fucking a long time ago. Audience out there, if you like that song, please share the video. Click that little share button. Right. I'm gonna berate you.
Share, comment, subscribe. Let's do it.
Dude, I want to bring this up because this is crazy. It's like, how much can you shove our faces in killing people and just getting away with it and passing it off as not you personally, and passing it off as suicide? The Epstein victim that it was with, like, fucking Prince whatever, has been found committed suicide. What was her name?
Virginia Guthrie, yes.
Virginia Guthrie.
She was with Prince Andrew. There's photos of with Bill Clinton on Epstein's Island or in planes. And yeah, she said she wasn't going to suicide herself. And guess what? She apparently committed suicide.
Dude.
So weird.
As she's going, naming victims, really going after the people and, like, sticking to her guns, and literally puts out posts saying, I am not suicidal. If you find me dead, they did this to me. Yep. And now she's dead by suicide, and we're just supposed to take that as fucking gospel? Like, why? I don't understand. How do we should be up in arms here, brah? We should be.
Well, the left-wing media is not going to cover it.
Right.
I don't give a shit. Right. And, I heard it on Fox, but, and then you're going to be on to the next news cycle thing. So everyone's just going to kind of forget about it. And the deep state just goes on and does whatever the fuck they want.
Well, isn't it just telling, in a second, Bobby, isn't it just telling that, the people not covering this, like, that silence should be deafening to people? Like, why would you not cover such an important story like this unless you're part of the problem or part of the cover-up?
A lot of the silence will be deafening. Like, why is Ghislaine Maxwell got prosecuted and convicted of trafficking? Who did she traffic to?
Right.
None of those people have been brought to justice or even mentioned. So, and I'm a little disappointed in the Trump administration. I'll say this, and Pam Bondi, because there was that whole, we're putting out the Epstein list and blah, 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 blah. And they put out a bunch of bullshit that everyone already saw, and they haven't said a word about it since. So
agreed.
I'm a little pissed about that.
Absolutely. And who gives a fuck who's on that list? Like, if it's like somebody too important, we can't know. No, we need to know because they're important. Like, this is the most heinous fucking list out there with the most heinous people doing the worst thing to some of the most impressionable people we have on the planet. There should be no person that's too important on that list to fucking show.
Well, that's what you would think. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't know. Like, what do we do as a people, as a society? Like, we come on here every week, we talk about it. Where's the list? Where's this? Where's that? But it's like, what do we do as a society to really have them fucking answer that question? Not just like, what do we have? Do we write to congressmen? Like, I seriously don't know what steps you would take.
We thought we were voting for Trump to do this, and has been done so far. So I don't know. And if he doesn't do it, then I don't think anyone's ever going to do it.
Yeah, that's true. If and again, this should be on his priority list, right up there with his tariffs. I mean, this is fucking kids' fucking lives affected by it. Like, what's more important than the future of humans? You know what I'm saying? And that's what the kids are. So to me, it's like one of the most important things he should be doing in the office, not just letting it go by the wayside. And like I said, I really don't know what more to do than to get on this show and talk about it weekly. Because I know there's smarter people out there. So let us know, audience, fucking what to do, and I'll help you. I'll do it. Come on.
There you go. Come on now.
Yeah. But dude, that's fucking back to that song, dude. What a killer fucking song. Killer drums.
Thank you.
That was a Chad Taylor, probably guitar part brought to.
Yeah, that was one of his ideas.
Yeah, they were definitely some harder rock songs over there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. are there things that you guys recorded in a studio that we haven't heard? Like, are there?
Probably not. I mean, everything seems to be out there that I can even think of. So
yeah, like there's been, unless it was like shit from like
somehow the shit gets leaked. I have no idea.
Thank God though. And I don't know why you guys didn't just do like double albums or fucking like a whole B-sides thing, because like your B-sides were just as good, if not better, than some of your albums.
Oh, we could do a B-sides thing someday. Who maybe, I don't know. It depends on if Universal even gives a shit, but they own all the masters.
Because it's just like you hear a lot of bands and you're like, all right, this is a 12-track album. 6 of these are great. 6 of these are like whatever. You guys were putting out like full albums that were awesome, and then you had these extra songs that were.
Well, that's why, it was so hard to pick what was going to be on the records and what was going to be left off. That was very hard decisions. But
what a great problem, man. Like to have problems, that's the best one. Like, this is hard to pick between. Was there so I know if you put out a double album back in the day, did that count for a studio or for the record company as like you putting out 2 albums of your contract or whatever?
I have no idea.
Because I was just trying to think like why some bands would put out a double record, or what would be like the reason to not put out a double record. You know what I'm saying? Like if you had all these extra songs, like why not do The Distance to Here with fucking,
Well, we didn't have enough to do a whole double record. There was only like 3 or 2, 3, 4 tracks left over. So
gotcha.
It's not enough. So it's probably like an expense thing. If you don't have another 10 songs, like
right,
why waste the disc space and making a whole nother disc for 4 songs?
Right. What did Throwing Copper turned 31, man. Does that feel crazy that you have a fucking album that's 31 years old? It's a whole 10 years older than somebody legal to drink?
Yeah, a little bit. You get in your 50s, you start going, wait a minute, that happened 25 years ago, 31 years ago? What the fuck? Like,
yeah.
I just figured out I moved to Orange County 20 years ago. Like, what the fucking insane.
Is life getting faster as you get older as far as,
the years accelerate. The days, they always say this with kids, like the days are slow, but the years go fast.
Yeah.
And it's so true. I mean, like the days are pretty slow. I pick them up from school, taking all their stuff. I'm sitting around a lot. I get to spend a lot of time with them, which is great.
Yeah.
But the years just seem to like click by. Like, my son's 15 already.
Yeah.
He's going to be driving next year. Well, actually, no, this year, towards the end of the year.
Holy 16 permit.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, he's getting his permit right now. He's 15 in California. You get your permit at 15, and then
what?
You can drive at 16. Yeah.
That's crazy, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want 17. Like, I wanted my license so bad as a kid, but you're fucking young, man. 15. I get you have an adult in the car, but dude, you are not like. But you could panic,
I gotta take him driving more.
Well, I told you, Chad, about me taking my sister driving, dude. It's scary. So fucking parking lot it up with no cars.
Sure.
Like,
yeah,
dude,
what I've been doing with him. Yeah. He hasn't driven on the road yet with me. So
yeah, good.
This will be interesting.
Well, honestly, probably by the time your girls are hitting that age, like it might be full autonomous driving at that point. Like your kids might be the last gen to really get licenses and have to go through that. Like we might be full autonomous driving in fucking 10 years.
It's coming for sure. Yeah. And Phoenix is, I wouldn't say rare, but is kind of the exception in his high school class of people that want to drive. Like some of them do and most of them don't. They're like, we'll take Uber.
Yeah. It's not a thing anymore. Like back in our day, it was like, we need to get our license right on day one.
Well, I was in Santa Barbara one time and I got an Uber there, and the driver said that he had a professor, like a futurist professor in the car one time talking to him. And this was back in 2005 or 6. Right. And the guy was telling him that the futurist professor, I don't know if that's the correct term for him, but anyway, he was, a professor that talks about the future, studies the future, whatever, what trends or whatever. So he was telling that eventually, and we're almost there, that every car will be self-driving, and that Uber will just be this service that circulates cars outside of the city, and then when someone needs it, it calls in, boom, comes. It's a driverless, obviously. You get in, takes you to your destination. No, like most people won't even own a car. They don't need to own a car.
Yeah,
and that's where it's going.
100%. Like that robo-taxi shit that Tesla's been talking about coming out with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you buy one of those, you put the car to work for you. Like you know what I'm saying? It just goes out.
Yes, entrepreneurs can put the car to work for them. Yes.
Yeah, but
that's a cool thing.
Yeah, but Chad, so we were just kind of speaking about this before the show. This is kind of deep. I'm not going to get too far into it, but I do want to bring it up because we're going to bring it up again on the show. We were talking about China's birth rate decline and how that's a serious problem, like going into the future, if humans are needed. But AI and humanoid robots are getting to the point where the humanoid robots will be just as good at doing any human physical task, whether it's building, cooking, digging ditches, like anything that they would need slave labor to do, like make their iPhones and make all that. They won't need humans anymore. So their declining population, as they seem to not be caring about it, that might be a reason why they seem to not be caring about it, because the human population won't be needed at some point.
Well, it's hard to tell if the Chinese regime is not caring about it or not admitting it, because it is a problem. Who knows?
That's true. Oh, that is true, right? So they don't want to admit, hey, that one fucking child in China thing was wrong.
Oh, the Chinese regime will not admit anything they do is wrong. I mean, come on.
Right.
Xi Jinping won't admit anything is wrong.
Yeah.
About anything.
Yep.
China's great. The economy's great. We can withstand the tariffs. Fuck the U.S. Blah, blah, blah.
Even the people in his inner circle, like nobody wants to give him the bad news, because
that's also part of Asian culture. They have to save face. Like they can't seem to be weak.
Ah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's why I do like the bow thing though, rather than this handshake and stuff. I started to bow to people. They look at me like I'm fucking wacky. Throw on my mask.
Japan, dude.
Yeah, I throw on a mask and I bow. They're like, okay, dude. Anywho, let's get into something fun. We have Mr. Tom Lord-Alge about to come on the show, folks. Exciting time.
Tom.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
You got audio?
Yeah, got audio. You did it right.
Then let me start by saying fuck.
Yes.
That's all. I always like to start my broadcasts with a nice curse word. One of my favorite curse words.
We totally are fine with that.
Yes.
Fuck.
Nice to see you, Chad. What's up, J-Ro? Nice to meet you.
What's going on? Same, Tom. We were just kind of going over some of your stats before the show. I'm like, we have no business having a cool dude like this coming on the show here. 3-time Grammy Award winner.
Yeah, it's a little busy over the years.
Yeah, dude.
Tom, how many records have you mixed, do you think, overall so far?
Oh, geez. Oh, thousands. I to be honest, I haven't kept count.
You never,
I never. But definitely in the thousands.
Amazing.
For every, let's say, for every Throwing Copper type album, successful album I have, there's 100 that weren't.
Okay, got it. Well,
at least.
And there's that.
But look. I mean, I enjoy helping artists make their records, and I do the best that I can at the time, and sometimes, they fall like Throwing Copper, which was a huge, success, really spoke to the musical community, and sometimes they don't.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't stop you from helping and helping the artists kind of, helping to get their vision to come out of the speakers.
Boom. I have a cool question for you, Tom, and you don't have to give me names, but have you ever been mixing a record or engineering a record where you're like, I'm not feeling this band I'm working with here, but I got to get my job done? Like, have you ever been in that situation?
I have early in my career. I've definitely been in that situation where, oh man, I'm not feeling this. But I made a commitment to it, and you see it through.
Sure.
As I got, obviously, successful in my career, I've been very fortunate, was able to kind of pick and choose the stuff that I want to work on.
Mm-hmm.
It always had to meet the criteria of, 1, do I like it? And 2, will it benefit from me touching? So I've been fortunate about that. But yeah, every once in, or in the start of my career, I I did some records that I wasn't really keen on, but I mean, to be honest, that's kind of helped make me the engineer that I am today, I guess.
Sure. You learn from your mistakes, or maybe their mistakes.
You know, and then make, you know, like and then I mean, I also worked on some very weird records. Like I did in the 80s, Billy Crystal used to do this Fernando character on Saturday Night Live. He said, "You look marvelous."
Oh,
and,
yeah.
He actually did a fucking song.
Really?
And I mixed the song.
No
you look marvelous. It's like just some weird left field. I have no idea how I got that gig, but it showed up on my plate, and I mixed it. And actually, this song did reasonably well. But I mean, it was a total novelty song. But yeah, you know, a lot of my earlier stuff, you know, would have been the early 80s. You know, would have been that kind of 80s kind of beginning of rap and hip hop, that kind of stuff. I did a handful of those records when I started.
Yes.
And was fortunate very early on in my career that immediately shifted into rock with the Steve Winwood project that I did in 1985, back in the High Life album.
Yes. Don't gloss over that one there. That's a major album right there.
Yeah, well, there you go. So, it was very, you know, I've probably been working in the studio for 2 or 3 years at that point, and that particular album was actually brought to a studio that my brother Chris and I were staff engineers. It's called Unique Recording. It was in Times Square in Manhattan. And they came up to work at our studio because we had a reputation of having hotshot engineers, which we were all hot shots and full of ourselves. And we also had an endless supply of drugs.
Yes. Finally, my rock story I've been looking for.
And but more importantly, I think we had the studio is kind of cutting edge with the technology of the keyboards in that era. So the MIDI, which is musical instrument digital interface, had just been kind of launched, and Unique Recording was kind of at the forefront of kind of getting that shit to work.
Oh wow!
So we just had like every keyboard under the sun, and I guess that was something that Winwood was interested in. So they came over, and actually they hired Chris, my older brother Chris. I don't know if any of you are familiar with my brother Chris Lord-Alge. He's done a few records in his day.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But he was actually hired to do that album, and he passed it on to me, and the agreement was that I would do the recording portion, because Chris wanted to focus his energies on mixing. I would do the recording portion, and then when the recording was done, I would hand it off to Chris. And I was totally cool with that. And I ended up spending 8 months, you know, recording that album and working with Steve and Russ Titleman, the producer, and had a great time. And we're getting near the finishing stages where we're about to hand it off to Chris to mix. And Steve came up to me and said, you know, I really like what you're doing, and I would like you to mix the album. And I said, well, thank you. I said, thank you, but I have to run that by my brother. And he just fucking lost it and started laughing his ass off. And he says, oh, no. He says, you're mixing the album. You
wow.
know, I still ran it by my brother. And
of course.
Chris blurted out the immortal words as, it doesn't matter which Lord-Alge mixes it, as long as it's Lord-Alge. and I'm certain that a year later, he probably choked on those words when I was on stage receiving a Grammy for Best Engineered Recording.
Yeah.
But my brother's awesome, and he was very proud of me, and very, you know, obviously, you know, happy for me.
Sure.
And to this day, you know, he still, you know, is like, that man, that record sounds so good. But I felt really bad because it was his record.
Yeah.
And he could have done it. And it took me, it's a slightly long story. It took me 25 years to be able to repay that favor.
Let me hear this.
So I'm living in Miami Beach at the time. I lived in Miami Beach for 27 years. It was a long time. I live in Austin, Texas now. I raised my standards and married a Texas girl.
There you go.
And she's amazing. And we live in Austin, Texas, which is a great town. But getting back to the story, so I was living in Miami Beach, and it was at a time I was just swamped with work. You know, I'm booked 7, 8, 9 months in advance, and I had a booking from a California band, you know, to come down and mix the album for 2 weeks. No problem. So 2 weeks or a week before the project was to start, you know, I get a phone call from the producer. and he's like, "Hey, change of plans. We need you to come out to California and mix it in Los Angeles." And I'm like, and I just told him, I'm like, "Look, you want my best mixes?" And he's like, "Of course we want your best mixes." And I said, "We need to mix it in Miami Beach." And he's, "Well, we can't come to Miami Beach. We need to do it in Los Angeles." And I go, "I know a guy. I know a guy." And I recommended that my brother Chris do the record. And he did, and they loved it. And he killed it. And you probably want to know what the record is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any guess?
Chili Peppers.
No, it was American Idiot.
No way.
Green Day. There you go.
Yeah. So it was American Idiot, Green Day, and Chris won his first Grammy for American Idiot, Green Day. And I finally felt that everything was right in the world.
Yes.
I was able to help Chris achieve that goal that he had helped me, 20-something years earlier.
That's cool.
I got to give props to your brother on that album, because it was like, I feel it was some of Green Day's best work. Like, it showed their kind of musicianship. Like, you thought they were kind of a 3-piece power chord band, and this kind of showed their ballad side. That was.
And he awesome. He killed it. He killed it. Now, obviously, if I had mixed it, it would be so much fucking better.
Of course.
But no, I mean, honestly, like, I never gave it any thought. I was happy that it was successful for Chris. I was happy that he won a Grammy, and to be honest, I mean, that record, I mean, Chris was already very successful as a mixing engineer, but that record just took it over the top for him, and I was very happy. And there was, it was during a period of time when there's so much fucking work for all of us.
Right.
And so I was really pleased about it. And again, it was quite a while ago that American Idiot, I think it was American Idiot is getting 20 years old.
Yeah, I think so.
If not more than that.
Gotta be.
But I remember I was in Tokyo a couple of years ago with my wife. I was doing a gig over there, and the producer of that album was there as well. And we went out to dinner, and I made sure that my memory was correct. I go, I said, it's Rob Cavallo who produced it. I go, "Rob, I just want to run this by you, and I want you to tell me if my memory is correct on it." And I told him the story, and he's like, "That's exactly how it happened."
Nice.
Well, because sometimes, over the 20 years and, all the fucking drugs in Miami Beach and the alcohol, sometimes the stories can get slightly watered down or watered up or coked up.
Exactly. Well, that's cool to hear that you guys, the brothers have that kind of relationship where you're not jealous of each other and you're just pushing for each other's success. That's the best.
Absolutely. I mean, again, it's doesn't matter which Lord-Alge mixes it, as long as it's Lord-Alge.
Perfect. Yeah. So cool.
Did you and your brother ever take like an album that you didn't give to the artist yet, but like you did a mix of it and he did a mix of it, and you guys tried to compete that way? Like, let's see who does the better mix here.
Well, so yes. Well, we've never done it in the manner in which you have stated, where it was a competition for both of us. But there are more than a handful of things that we've done that we both mixed the same song. So there's I can think of like Hole would be an album that I know that we both worked on we both mixed that album. I know that we both did versions of some of the songs,
How cool.
I know that we both mixed the same songs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So whether my version I know there's one song in particular on that whole album that I did, or that Chris and I did. There was one that I mixed, but his version made the album. Which is, again, no worries. But yeah, throughout our career, there's been a lot of records that we've worked on. But maybe Chris mixed 3 songs and I mixed 3 songs. It goes down to your relationship with the producer.
Sure.
So usually there's a half a dozen or a dozen producers who are the flavor of the month or that era. So you have a relationship with them, and if they produce 3 songs for that album, you would mix them. And then if the other guy like Rob Cavallo, Chris did a lot of work with Rob Cavallo, so if Rob did it, then Chris would mix it, and that's just kind of how it worked.
Sure.
Is Chris based in LA?
Very similar with live. Like I was I was doing, when I met Chad and the live guys, you know, I was doing work with Jerry Harrison.
Right.
You know, I had met Jerry in New York City at the Hit Factory. I forgot how we met, but we met at the studio, and you know, we kind of just hit it off. And he's like, "Hey, I'm doing a solo album. Would you be interested in doing some mixes?" And that's kind of how our relationship started. And then from there, whatever Jerry was producing, you know, he would call me up, and that's kind of how the live thing popped up over the years.
Yeah, and we brought you in to mix Painless and Riverside first on Mental Jewelry, right?
Is that yeah, that's right. So he did 2 songs, and I think he was still called it. You were called something else.
Oh, we were Public Affection for a bit.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah, remember when the tape came in? It said Public Affection. So
you're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, I mixed those at the Hit Factory Times Square in Manhattan. So they had a bunch of studios, and they had a Times Square studio at 42nd Street, and I love that studio. I mixed that there, and I mixed the Billy Joel We Didn't Start the Fire there. And what I loved about that, what I loved about that studio is, just off the lounge of the studio I was working at, there was an outdoor balcony. And, you know, so like I would camp out in that room for a month, and I bought like a barbecue, you know what I mean? And we would fucking barbecue on the balcony, you know, totally fucking forbidden, but fuck it.
Yeah.
You know, we would barbecue out in the balcony and just have a good old fucking time. Like anytime there was any outdoor space in the studio, I was all about that. And I loved that. So, but yeah, I enjoyed that studio. But yes, I did those 2 songs. That was the introduction to the band for Public Affection. I mixed at the Hit Factory in Times Square. And then, yeah, I mean, so I could tell the story. And then, you know, I guess they liked them.
Yeah. Oh, we
they liked them enough where I got a phone call from Jerry, and he was like, you know, now this is going into the throwing copper era. Did I say throwing copper? Throwing copper feel, motherfucker.
That's fine.
Yeah, New York came out.
Throwing copper. The throwing copper era. I remember being home one night and then getting a phone call from Jerry, and he's like, I think you guys either were about to mix or had started mixing, and it was like, if you can get out to Lake Geneva, Wisconsin in the next couple of days, these guys are willing to give you a chance, you know, like to offer you an opportunity to mix this record. You know, you bang one out and we'll go from there. So I'm like, yeah, Jerry, I'm on it. I was living in New Jersey at the time. I jumped in my 1966 Ford Mustang Fastback, and I drove from New York to Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, you know, showed up at the studio, and, you know, met all the guys. I don't think, because we hadn't met, I don't think, for the
No, we didn't meet you when you did the other.
Yeah.
At least I didn't.
But I remember we met. I think the first song I mixed was the, I like the way the
Irish.
No, not Iris. It's, fuck.
That was Irish, you sang.
No, okay, sorry. It was Selling the Drama.
Selling Drama, yeah, because we thought that was going to be the first single. So
yeah, I think that was the first song I mixed, was Selling the Drama. And I guess I did a pretty good job.
You did.
Yeah, because I think we did the first mix, and I have a memory of us all going out to dinner and then some really nasty strip club in Lake Geneva. It was nasty.
Yes.
The bartender's the stripper also. One of those it's one of those places where the bartender is also the stripper.
Exactly. Yes. And the bouncers were the strippers as well.
Yeah.
Great.
It was really nasty. But yeah, we had a meal, and then we went and had some drinks. But yeah, I remember the whole experience was being a cool experience. And then it's funny because, you know, we all kind of showed up in our regular, like my 66 Mustang was literally kind of like my daily driver. I love that car. You know, and we all showed up in just regular cars. You know, I remember, like, I think like Ed might have had like some like Mitsubishi, like, you know, a little 2-seater, but it was nothing fancy. We all just had kind of regular beater cars. But then when we showed up to mix
Secret
Samadhi, everybody showed up in fucking Porsches, and, you know, we all had really nice cars.
That was the you know, the transition
days.
Trajectory, baby. Yeah. Tom, I got a question for you. As you're mixing Throwing Copper, like, did you realize what you were mixing right there and how special this album was going to be for the people that heard it?
No, you don't think about it. You just the music just, you know, flows through you. So I'm just going to say it. The album the recording of the album. Look, I'm an engineer. The recording of the album was challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just use those words. It was challenging. So I was really just focused on trying to get these songs to explode, you know, and get them sonically to sound kind of like how I wanted them to sound,
sure.
which was difficult, but I was able to achieve it thanks in large part to the studio that we were working in. I'd set up some speakers in this recording room and some microphones, and because they had a killer recording room. And what I would do is I would send out the drum sounds back out to the room to capture that room sound. And that really helped me to define that drum sound on that album. Like that ambience of that room sound really defined the drum sound on that record.
Wow.
Because again, the drums it was a challenging recording, but I was, you know, again, when we finished the record, I was very pleased that I had gotten it to sound that way.
I have a question.
Yeah,
about...
it was a fun process, and we had this resort to ourselves. It was
telling them that,
like old Playboy Resort in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. I don't know what they were going to do to it, but the hotel portion was closed, and it's immense. It's huge. It's like the fucking Shining.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then there's this other building with a studio attached to it. So we had the run of this hotel, and we just had a blast. So you can just imagine there's 6 of us, or maybe 7 of us there. Right, because your brother was probably there.
Matt, my cousin,
your cousin. I'm sorry, your cousin was probably there because he was dealing with the band's equipment.
Yeah,
and so probably maybe 7 of us or 8 of us, you know, just having the run of the place.
Yep.
You know, and it was a trip.
Yeah,
it was a trip. We had a good time, and again, we got great work done.
I remember you making dinners for us, some Italian dinners.
Yeah, I mean, it all sounds about right. You know, it all sounds about right. You know, again, I mean, my memories of the project were, I mean, one that we had a great time, we got our work done, but that it was just it was like the fucking Shining.
Yeah, it totally was. You know what? Memories get cloudy. I forgot that you didn't start with us to mix that record. You came in.
Yeah.
And I don't even know who started mixing it, and I don't even know how we got to Lake Geneva.
Lou.
I think
it could have been Lou.
It could have been Lou, right? Yeah.
It could have been Lou. So I mean, again, I remember the phone call. It was like Jerry Harrison, you know, because I don't know if Jerry had pitched me on the album, and you guys just weren't interested, you know. But it was one of those things of Jerry saying, "Hey, if you get your ass out here, you know what I mean? Like this could be something. This could, you know,
show
this
what
could
you
happen."
Can do, yeah.
And I'm glad I did.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
I'm glad I did.
The world might be glad you
spanked
did.
it, as you say, buddy.
Yeah, man. I'd fucking spanked it. No, and look, Throwing Copper, that album, one, it's an amazing record. I'm very proud of the work that I did and the guys did. But that album resonated amongst the musical community, you know, so amongst, you know, Gracey's peers. Mm-hmm. It resonated for some reason.
Yeah.
And when I tell you, I got 20 years of work from that record. So without Throwing Copper, I wouldn't have gotten Weezer. Without Throwing Copper, I wouldn't have gotten, you know, Collective
Sum 41.
Soul, Sum 40. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, these are all records that were directly related to the work that we had done on Throwing Copper. So I'm very grateful for that.
Tom,
I'm grateful as well.
Yeah, for real. Just the fans are grateful for sure, and I'm sure Chad with the band is. But I got a question for you. When you first were working with Steve Winwood back in the day, was that like a daunting task for you? Like, were you like, oh shit, I'm like working with Steve Winwood here? Were you just kind of cool, nonchalant about it and like doing your thing?
Yeah, you don't even think about it. You just do your thing. You're there to do a job. And I got to be honest. I mean, I was like that whole that project, the Back in the High Life project. There was a lot of shit going on. I mean, Steve, we would go out to dinner, and you know, because he's English, so he's got this whole pub thing, you know. So they go out, they have a meal, they have some beers or some drinks. So every night we were out, you know, eating and drinking, which was great. And then I would leave and go home, and then proceed to do like an 8-bowl of fucking Coke all night, you know, and hope that I could get 2 hours of sleep before I had to show up for the session the next day. And somehow I survived through it and helped them make this wonderful piece of of music.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a little cloudy. But no, you just go in, you know, you try not to think about that, you know. 'Cause,
Sure.
yeah, I mean, like, you know, what are we doing today? Oh, today we have Shaka Khan coming in. Okay. You know, you don't think about it. It's just like, okay, Shaka Khan. What does she need? You know, you set up the microphone, you set up her chair and some headphones and a little music stand, you know, and then later I realized that she needs an ashtray. No problem. You know, I mean, I'm smoker as well.
Accommodating,
So,
yeah.
you know, but she comes in and, you know, she comes in to do her thing, and you know, I got the tape rolling and she's out there and I'm in record and she's smoking a cigarette. The song is playing. The second chorus comes around. She's still smoking a cigarette. Now we're getting into the out chorus. And Steve and I are looking at each other like, when is this woman going to sing? And she takes a puff off a cigarette and then starts to blurt out the most beautiful ad-libs you've ever heard that probably still made the record. Smoke coming out of her mouth. And Steve and I are on the floor laughing. It was so funny that it was so glorious sounding, but so nonchalant. Like she took a drag of a cigarette and then just blurted out these ad-libs that were just like, holy shit.
That's amazing.
Have you ever been having a magical moment like that and you magically didn't hit the record button and had to have the artist like do another take on that?
No, sir.
Thank God. Thank
No,
God.
sir. No, sir.
Yeah.
My brother, one of the first things that he taught me. So he brought me into the studio. I assisted him for like 2 weeks. I did concert sound. I was front of house engineer. So I came in from came off the road from, you know, into the studio. So I just did 2 weeks shadowing Chris, and literally the first things that one of the first things he told me is, if there's an artist in the room and you're playing music, have it in record always. You can always go back and erase it.
Right.
So, and that is actually how the intro to Higher Love was born. So Higher Love, the song Higher Love, for the people that don't know it, it starts off with this kind of offbeat timbali stick thing that the drummer did. And that originally was played at the end of the song. So how we recorded back then is we took 6 minutes of tape, right? And you put SMPTE time code on it so that you could synchronize another tape machine and also any sequences or anything like that. And Higher Love isn't 6 minutes long. So at 5 minutes or 5 minutes and 20 seconds when the song is over, there's still 40 seconds of tape going. And if a musician is playing, so basically when the song falls apart, because Higher Love is a fade out song, it's not a hard ending.
Right.
So once you know you got past the end of the song, all the musicians, they start to whip their dicks out.
Show off.
Right. They just start playing like stupid shit. And that's where you get the magic. So the song fell apart, and John Robinson, who did the drums on Higher Love, he just started fucking around, you know, and I had the machine in record.
That's cool.
Wow.
You know, and we didn't think too much about it. It was just this kind of cool offbeat rhythm thing. And we didn't think too much about it at the time. And then months later, when we were nearing the end of the project and beginning to, you know, getting to the mixing, you know, Russ Titleman, the producer, you know, said, Higher Love is perfect, except that we need an intro for the song. I don't like the intro. And it was boom, like a light bulb on my head. Boom. Russ, I have an idea. Give me 10 minutes, you know, and I boom, boom, boom. I did a quick calculation and offset the 2 tape machines so that, you know, basically what you hear now is what the intro is. And I go, hey, Russ, how about this? And I played him the intro and Steve, and they were both like, yes,
yeah,
that is it. And there you go. So,
sick,
but something,
Perfect.
you know, going back to your original question.
Yep.
No, I was always taught, musician in the room, always have it in record.
Smart, man. And even then, when, you know, they weren't planning on doing something you were going to have recorded, you had it recorded and ready to go once they were looking for that intro. That's awesome.
Correct.
I want to bring you back to Throwing Copper, because I meant to ask you this when you were talking about it. You said it was a hard album to mix, and I was wondering, because Chad has talked about it a couple of times, that they recorded that album without it being on a click track. So with that, I'm thinking, is that where the mixing and editing becomes hard, when it's not on a click track type deal?
No, that I didn't. That wasn't the issue. The issue was, the issue was just the quality of the recording.
Gotcha.
It's as simple as that, And look, I call Gracey out on this. I think at one point I might have said, "Are you a lefty or a righty?" And you're a righty, aren't you?
Yeah.
Right. So I said, "Give me your right hand," and I'm like smacking it. You're hitting the fucking hi-hat too hard.
Well, I'm known for that. Yes.
Yeah, man.
Gracey. Look,
guilty.
It's what makes it. Look, Gracey's a killer fucking drummer, just a fucking killer drummer, and he plays heavy, he plays hard, he hits hard, and that sonically, that's not. It's difficult. I'm only speaking of hi-hats and cymbals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what happens is, a lot of those songs, it's the choruses are cymbal crashes, running through the chorus. So now you have to deal with this sound, and then you have to deal with the sound of the guitar distortion.
Sure.
Trying to get them to be separate. Otherwise, the song just sounds like, a massive noise. So
wow.
it was difficult, but yeah, I was able to pull it off, and
Plus,
I was able to figure out. It's almost like figuring out the code to Gracey. Like, okay, here's how you get a killer Gracey drum sound. You know what I mean? Like, in other words, because I brought up the fact that you're hitting the cymbals too hard, and I can only bring that up once before I don't want to stymie him on how he performs. I want him to perform
right
without even thinking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Want him comfortable.
To me, it was more about, okay, I got to work with this guy some more. I have to decode how to manipulate his sound for me.
Boom.
To deal with this abundance of cymbals. And I did. I was able to figure out methods that worked for me that still kept the integrity of his drum performance, but just made it sound better.
Yeah.
It also comes down to how I set up too. I don't know if you remember, but my hi-hat is really close to my rack tom, and we got to sneak in the mic right between the hi-hat and the rack tom for the snare. And so that picks up all the hi-hat from the snare. And then my cymbals were really low too, so they would get picked up in the tom mics. And yeah, I know.
Oh, I'm bringing back all those painful memories.
I was just gonna say, Tom, are you hearing anything there but excuses for why he wasn't playing how you wanted? That's all I heard.
Look, so let's call it what it is. I'm the mixing engineer. It's not my place to tell him how to perform. I only raised the concern of, like, maybe you can hit the cymbals a little less hard.
Yeah.
And again, I think I probably only said it to you once, and then I let it be. I just planted that seed, and then it was his to go with.
Sure.
But it's my job to deal with what has been given to me.
Well, I like how you took, something that was originally recorded and it wasn't the sound you were looking for, and then you re-recorded it in the room you wanted to, like with this microphone, to get the sound you're looking for. That's huge, man. That's really cool.
Yeah, well, we did whatever we needed. I did whatever I had to do to get the sound in my head to come out of the speakers.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, Throwing Cop, again, it was a great record. I really enjoyed mixing it. I think the moments on those, Damn It Otter Creek, what a killer opening.
Boom.
What a killer fucking opening song.
Yeah.
So happy that was the opener. And then White Discussion, again, just so fucking awesome. And again, just a lot of happy accents, all those weird noises and talking shit on that was just like, I think Ed had some tape of that stuff.
He got the preacher talk from a ham
in.
Radio fucking broadcast.
He was just like, he goes, yeah, we want to fly this into this outro section of this song.
Right.
Okay. He gave it to me. And I'm like, I just played the end of White Discussion. I hit play on his tape. And that's how it landed. First
wow.
Time. That literally is how it landed. And right up to the end. With the last thing the guy said, it was literally, I just hit play and
it just landed like that.
Yeah.
It just landed like that. I'm pretty sure it was the first time we did it that I just flew it in. And again, luckily I had the machine in record, so it recorded it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just how it landed.
Wow.
You yourself
it's just one of those, again, sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. But,
right.
I don't remember us agonizing over that. I literally remember it just being, oh, you want to fly that in? Sure. Boom. And then it was like, yeah, that works.
Wow.
That's it. Yeah. It's freaking awesome.
But you were talking earlier about the unreleased stuff. So they did release the 3. I think it was 3 other songs from Throwing Copper Sessions, which was what was it? It was the We Deal in Dreams.
Yep. Hold Me Up.
Yeah.
Hold Me Up.
And maybe Horse, the unreleased.
No, actually Horse. No. Yeah, I was gonna say Horse, but I think Horse was the hidden track. Right?
Oh, Cheetah. What's up, y'all? Cheetah.
But yeah.
Cheetah,
no?
Yeah,
I don't know if we ever released Cheetah on anything.
Oh.
I don't. So that song I don't remember. But it could have been the drugs.
But Tom, what you said was so spot on about Throwing Copper. The intro with the Dam in Otter Creek, and then, with the album ending at White Discussion, just the sonic sound of Dam in Otter Creek starting, and then the closing of White Discussion, and then everything in between. It just flows like
it bookended the whole album. Yeah, the opening was the opening of that album was brilliant. I'm glad they used that as the opener because it starts off. It really sets the tone for the record.
Yeah. I think we knew as soon as we wrote Dam in Otter Creek and White Discussion that we had the front and the back of the record. So we're pretty sure about that.
Boom, bomb. Can you tell me or talk to me about your time with Dave Matthews Band? They one of my favorite bands. What did you end up doing with them? I see them in your band.
Well, I mixed Under the Table and Dreaming.
Wow,
I mixed that at the Power Station in New York City, and then I mixed, I'm gonna say 4 or 5, maybe 6 songs for Crash.
Wow.
By Crash, I'd felt the ousting elbow of Steve Lillywhite.
Yeah,
because they allowed him to come in when the mixing of Crash. So, and he fancied himself a mixer as well. So I kind of felt his elbow pushing me out the door. But they still used 5 or 6 of my mixes. So here's the story on Dave Matthews. So I used to do a lot of work for RCA Records in that time frame, in that era. And I worked with this cat, Bruce Floor, and Peter Robinson, who were A&R guys at the record company. And they would send me projects, and I would do it. And I get a call from the 2 of them. We do a conference call, and they're like, you got to help us out. We have this new artist, and there's a lot of promise in this new artist. And we delivered the record like they had recorded and mixed the record.
Right.
And the record company, their bosses, didn't accept it. So in other words, they said, no, you have to remix this album. So they were in a real way. They're A&R guys, and their bosses were like, oh no, this will not do.
Because it's such a different sound for the time of music, right? I mean, they got violin and horn.
Correct. So they reached out to me, can you come in? Again, I think Lillywhite mixed the album, and the record company didn't accept it. They didn't like the mixes, and they wanted it to be redone. So they called me up, and the 3 of us, myself, Bruce Floor, and Peter Robinson, we mixed it at the Power Station with no input from Lillywhite, no input from the band.
Oh wow!
Now they may have sent mixes out to the band as we were doing it, but I don't have memory of that.
Gotcha.
But yeah, we mixed that album. Everybody loved it, and here we are. Again, that particular record, I'd like to have that one back, please.
Well, Tom, you mentioned that they were like Steve Lillywhite was nudging you out of that second album, Crash, but then I believe in the 3rd album that Dave put out, he got nudged out because I think the album leaked, and then they went with like this guy Glenn Ballard to produce the album.
Yeah. And I think my brother Chris mixed that.
Oh wow!
I'm pretty sure. Like I said, I worked on the first 2, and then I think Chris worked on the 3rd one.
Okay, then I'm going to give this compliment to your brother. Hold on, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I want that was the first Dave album where I said they actually got Dave's like live sound, because his concerts always kind of sounded different than the albums. And I felt
on the 3rd album.
On the 3rd album, I felt that's where they actually captured their sound that they get so good in concerts.
Yeah, it's quite possible. So I can tell you. So the one thing I remember about Under the Table is Peter and Bruce telling me, telling me about, I forget what the drummer's name. What's the drummer's name?
Carter Beauford.
Carter Beauford. Yep.
Okay. They're telling me about Carter and how he plays. And they said on Under the Table and Dreaming album, they specifically asked Carter to dial it back.
Oh, wow.
So that his performance was, and if you listen to Under the Table versus Crash, you can definitely hear he's playing a lot less on Under the Table. So that was one thing that I think was probably a mistake.
Sure.
The other thing, like I said, so when I said I'd like to have that one back, like anybody else, I have good days and bad days. And I'm not saying I had a bad day when I mixed, or bad days when I mixed Under the Table and Dreaming, but we kind of started with the sound and we all really liked it and stuck with it. I would probably, mixing it with today's ear definitely would have treated it differently, and definitely would think that Under the Table and Dreaming would benefit from a modern version of it. I've asked them on multiple occasions, hey, can you send me the multis of Under the Table? I'll do a remix on the album for free.
Oh, wow.
Just because I'd like to, I mean, like I said, I stand behind the mixes that I did.
Sure.
They'd work, but I think they could have been better.
Yeah, I mean, they were both legendary albums, so I mean, you can't be too hard on yourself.
They haven't taken you up on that offer yet?
No.
Crazy.
No, I don't. I don't get it. But no. Having said that, then we come to Crash. So I noticed it right away when I started mixing the songs on Crash. So like So Much to Say, for example, I could tell right away that the drum performance was so much better.
Yeah.
That it was. Okay, I could hear the guy's personality now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, and the Crash album, the recording of that album was a much better recording than Under the Table.
Yeah.
It was just a better quality of recording. So it allowed me to get the mixes to an even better place. So, I was very, very pleased with the stuff that I did on Crash. We mixed Crash at a studio in Manhattan called Room with a View, and it's in Midtown, and I think it was in the 30s, something like that, and it was in a residential apartment building, and it was just this guy who had bought a whole floor in a residential apartment building, and on one side of the south side of that building, he took two apartments, made it one, and made a recording studio, a mixing studio, and it was all windows. So the windows looked down at the Statue of Liberty, and it was beautiful. And,
wow.
And again, I just loved the place, and it had an SSL like the one I'm sitting in front of. And I have this great picture. I took the couch and because fuck it, it feels like I'm at home. So I just brought the couch and put it in the mixing position. And I have a picture of me mixing that album with Steve Lillywhite looking at me like, what the fuck is this guy doing mixing the couch?
That's awesome.
But during the mixing of that project, and specifically the song Crash, I felt that elbow. I felt Steve making suggestions to me because he was there during the mixing, and Dave came in as well, and Dave was super easy to work with. But Steve was there, and I could tell by the comments he was making to me that he would be steering me in the wrong direction intentionally. So no problem, man, no problem. I did what I needed to make him happy.
Sure.
And then once he left the room, I put the mix back, and then I played that to the artist.
Good for you to stand by your convictions too, and be like, I see what this dude is doing, and then going with your original plan. I like that. Man.
But then I would also say, now this is how I hear it, and then here's how Steve hears it.
Yes.
I give them both versions, and then let them decide, because at the end of the day, it's not my record,
right?
You know what I mean? But I want to make sure that they're getting the best of me.
Yeah.
So in other words, how are you going to get the best of me if you don't let me do my fucking thing?
Yeah.
I always tell the artists, I can't give you your mix until I give you my mix.
Right.
Yeah.
And speaking of some of that, we could talk a little bit about Lakini's Juice.
Yeah. There you go. We can get into that. I was just going to ask you, where do we mix? Did you mix that at the Hit Factory? We didn't mix that in Miami, right?
Hit Factory. One of my favorite mix rooms of all times. That was at the new Hit Factory, or new at that time.
Right.
It was on the West 54th. They had two studios on 54th, but this was where they had that entire building.
Yes.
And they built these just ludicrously over the top studios. And we had the mixing room, which had the most beautiful console I've ever seen. It was a 96 channel SSL 4000, and it was semicircular. It was a wraparound.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And it was just magnificent. I have a picture of it, and it's just beautiful. We mixed that album there. We had 2 Sony 3348 tape machines, because Throwing Copper was hugely successful. So you guys were spending money.
Yeah.
And so we did some mixing, and I was fucking around. We were working on the song Lucchini's Juice. Now, everybody knows, I would like to think that everybody knows Lucchini's Juice, and it has that killer fucking guitar intro. Well, that's not how it was recorded. It was actually the way that song originally was on the tape was, it was a count off, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then boom, the band came in, everybody, and I don't know what inspired me to change that intro. I think what inspired me to change I'm speculating what inspired me to change the intro is what I did to Taylor's guitar.
Yeah.
Here I go. I thought, this is a really cool sounding guitar. It's not a standard sounding distorted guitar. It was a unique sound that I never heard, and I manipulated it in such a manner that it created this it was just really cool sounding. And I go, it's a shame that it gets lost. I mean, it's not lost in with the band, but that it doesn't have a moment.
Wasn't prominent.
And I was probably doing something, and I had soloed the guitar to hear it by itself. And I just thought, wait a minute, I must have done it right at the moment where it started its riff. And I let it play, the one round of it. And then I turned on Ed's vocal, and I go, oh yeah, okay. So I created this intro.
Wow.
The band comes in. I play it for them, and they're not fucking having it. Not one of them. Not one of them. Not fucking Gracey, not Kowalczyk, not fucking Dahlheimer, not fucking Taylor.
I figured Taylor would be like, fuck yeah, that's me starting this off. Let's go.
None of them are having it.
Wow.
I'm like, oh, you fucking guys. And I'm just going, dudes, this was probably the one time that I was, I'm sure I've done it more than once, but this was one time where I was like, okay, you guys are too close to this. I need to step away. So I here's what I'm going to do. Here's, as recorded, I printed the mixes. Here's the original version as recorded. Here's the TLA intro. I go, all that I ask you guys to do is live with it. Walk away, come back to it in a week, 5 days, whatever. Live with it, and then make your decision. Listen to it in the scheme of things. And I guess they finally, they probably walked away from it and then came back and said, yeah, this is the way to go. So one of my more proud moments in my musical career was the intro of Lucchini's Juice.
It is.
Now, I love Lucchini's Juice, and I really wish that I had just convinced the guys to shut the fucking strings off. There's a live version that I mixed for you guys of Lucchini's Juice. I don't know where we recorded or where it was recorded, but I have this live version that's just the band playing Lucchini's Juice, no fucking strings. And it is the baddest ass version of that song I've ever heard.
Okay, so as a fan, so I've never heard without the strings. I thought the strings were cool, but you're saying that might ruin it. It might be better without the strings.
I understand why the strings. I mean, look, they paid a lot of money for that string arrangement. Was it fucking Dick Van Dyke or something that did that string arrangement? Something Park Van Dyke or something.
Yeah, Chad was telling me the guy's name the other day. I can't remember now, but he remembers the guy's name.
Yeah, like it was the guy that did the string arrangement. It was a big deal. And look, the string arrangement is great. And obviously, I made them prominent, but hindsight is 2020, and going, listening to that song, I'm like, fuck, it would be so much better without the strings.
It'd be darker.
It would be darker.
Yeah.
So, but whatever, it is what it is. Maybe I don't know where those tapes are either. I'm sure they're somewhere, but I know Throwing Copper tapes are lost.
Oh,
yeah.
I know those are lost because we've tried to find them. Nobody can find the Throwing Copper multi-tracks.
Well, Universal had a huge fire in one of their. Yeah.
So, I mean, because, yeah, I would love to remix Throwing Copper. Well, actually, you know what? I wouldn't love to remix Throwing Copper because I don't think I would improve upon it. But I would love to remix the Lucchini's Juice. Just that one
strings.
song. And take the strings out.
You gave him my favorite snare sound ever in Lucchini's Juice.
It was a good one. Well, it was also a combination. So it was a combination of your snare. You were using that piccolo snare, which is fucking just killer. Cuts through everything.
Yeah.
Love that thing. And there was some metallic sample.
Yeah, it's that metallic sample.
Yeah, it gave it that real industrial sound.
Freaking great. I always loved that.
I don't know if that was a Jay Healy thing.
Yeah, did he put that
so what the fuck?
No?
What the hell with Jay Healy?
What do you mean? Why we use him?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I know because of his REM. It was because of his REM connection.
Maybe, yeah. We had used Jerry for Mental Jewelry and Throwing Copper, and just I don't know.
You wanted to change.
Yeah. I don't know. And I forget exactly how we settled on Jay, but that's who we used. It was great to work with. I mean,
he's a good. Don't get me wrong. He's a good guy.
Yeah,
I like him. I was just like, why the hell? What the hell?
Yeah,
and there, look, Jay's also fancies himself a mixer, and there was a little tension there between him and I because I'm the guy coming in taking his shit.
Yeah,
like coming in and like, hey, he probably thought, well, this is my album to mix. I'm like, no, it's not, motherfucker.
That's right.
Not when
I was happy to be there,
room.
but Samadhi was a good record. Had some solid moments. Again, Lucchini's Juice being the far and away the standout. But Freaks, I always thought was a good one. The Turn My Head was a great ballad. Ed really killed that one.
Yep.
Gashead.
The
Distance to Here, was that the first record we mixed in Miami with you?
That was the first one we did in Miami. Yeah. Okay. The sheep will eat us. Lolita's, the sheep will eat us. The dolphins cry.
Love Lolita's lyrics.
Yeah, that's actually what Ed says. He should, Lolita, sheep will eat us.
Real lyric.
You heard it here, folks. We never knew that.
Yes, those are Ed's original vocals.
Then we all looked forward to going to Miami to mix the records because it's Miami. So
we always had a good time.
Yeah,
none of us ever ended up in jail. Although
that's a plus.
Taylor and I almost burnt the bridge down.
Yes,
I'm sure.
Taylor and I. Oh, fuck, I forgot what we were doing. So I had this sick house on the water, I had 2 boats in my backyard, and Taylor and I were out, I don't know, one night after work, or, we're out doing whatever the fuck we were doing, drinking, and I don't remember if these were friends of his or just 2 fucking birds that we picked up. But they ended up coming back, Taylor, myself, and these 2 birds came back to my house. And the girls were like, yeah, we're staying up at the Fontainebleau. Can you give us a ride up there? And I'm like, sure, we'll take the boat. Because fuck it, just, and it's like 1 a.m. and just take the boat out. And I'm like, not only will we take the boat out, but I have all these fireworks.
Oh, boy.
So we're going to take some fireworks with us as well. And we did. So, Taylor and I and these 2 birds, we get in the boat, load it with fireworks, and obviously, load up with a cooler full of fucking alcohol.
Woohoo!
We drop it in the bay, and it's like 7 or 8 miles. So it took about 30 minutes to get up there. And on the way up, we go under it's called the Tuttle Causeway, which is the North Causeway that leads from Miami Beach to Miami. And when you go under this huge bridge, there's these piers that protect the concrete pillars, wooden piers.
Right.
So I pulled up to the piers and I dropped like 4 or 5 boxes of these 500-gram fireworks. There's like, 10 shots, you know what I mean? And you light them and they're fucking awesome.
Yeah.
They're awesome. So, we lit them off and, fucking 1 a.m, killer fireworks. Didn't think anything about it, just left the boxes there after they had exploded and, continued to drop these girls off at the Fontainebleau. We drop them off, and then Taylor and I are coming back on the boat.
Oh, shit.
And as soon as I come into view of the bridge, I see a little glowing, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? And as I'm getting closer, I'm like, holy shit. The pilings around the bridge had caught fire from the boxes of fireworks.
Oh, shit.
So I fucking floor the boat, get there, and the fucking, it's burning. I go to Taylor, if we don't put this fire out, they're going to find us. This is not just going to go away.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like for the next 30 minutes, we're using anything that we can in the boat to douse water on this pier that's burning. And we were able to put it out, and I went back a couple of days later and it was a significant fire. We put it out, but I was like, if we hadn't put it out, God only knows. What
would have happened? Yeah. Thank God you didn't go to piss on it. It sounded like your blood alcohol level might have lit it back on fire if you went to pee on it to put it out.
Exactly, right. Yeah, if we just breathed on it, it would have fucking flared up again.
Right. I have a funny story that I tell about you. We were mixing Throwing Copper, and it was you. I was driving in this piece of shit rental that we had. You were in the passenger seat, and someone was in the back. It could have been Taylor, but we were just driving down this country road, I think, to that crazy strip club we would go to. And I was just driving, and all of a sudden you're like, never do this. And you just put it right in the park. And it was like, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was 23. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
I was notorious for doing that. If I knew that the people I was with were in a rent-a-car, and we had been out and had a couple of drinks or something like that. Oh yeah. If they're driving, I'm just like, yeah, you never want to do this in a rent-a-car. I just throw it in the park.
Dude, it sounds like you brought the fun everywhere you went there, Tom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well,
it does.
You got, making records sometimes can be boring. You got to break it up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got to break it up. We worked hard and we played harder.
That's the way. Let me ask you this. What is your feeling on the moving into this digital world? Is this good for music or is this bad for music?
It's good for music. I mean, more people are able to create music with it. Look, I've always encouraged artists, songwriters, artists to embrace the technology, to be able to use the technology without having anybody else around. So in other words, if you're a singer, you need to know how to record your demos yourself.
Yeah.
By having that education and knowledge, it allows you to write the songs exactly the way and produce things exactly the way you want it without the influence of a recording engineer or a producer. And then you bring in, when it comes time when you're finished, then you bring in somebody who's objective in the end to help you. But by giving the artist the opportunity to at least get out what's inside of them without being colored by somebody else's thoughts, I think it's hugely important. So I'm all for the modern technology. I utilize it. Look, I still mix on an analog console, but I use it in conjunction with the modern digital DAWs, so it's the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Do you actually know what every knob on that board does? It looks so daunting and intimidating to somebody who knows very little about audio.
I've worked on this brand of console and this layout of console my entire career, so over 40 years. And the answer to that question is a resounding no.
Good. I'm glad.
It's a resounding no. I have no fucking idea. I know that if I turn this knob, it does something cool. No, but obviously I know what everything does on it, and it's really simple. I don't know if the people that listen to the show, they're also watching an image as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Most of them.
Okay. So. Oh well, if they're watching the show, then
yeah, baby, the machine.
There you go.
We're streaking.
At least flash my boobs.
You gave them some value,
right? So if you look at the console as one channel, there's 64 channels in that console. So and they're identical. They just represent different instruments.
Right.
So the controls are identical. So all you have to do is figure out the controls on one channel, and then the rest of exactly the same. So
gotcha.
Even though, yes, when you look at it, it looks overwhelming, but it's
once you break it down.
I didn't graduate high school. So how hard can it fucking be?
Right.
Exactly.
Well, I don't think Einstein did either. I don't know that, but no, but Tom, so 64 of those things, and you just kind of got to know what the one row does, and then they all will kind of follow that.
Yeah, they just the controls are the same. It just represents a different instrument.
Gotcha. And when you're mixing songs, what do you do? Take tapes so you kind of know what's on each individual one. How would you know where the drum is on one track as opposed to?
Right. Well, we don't use tape anymore. I use a computer. It's a digital audio workstation. I use a program called Pro Tools. So you get what's called files, and it's the raw data that makes up the song. So like example, Chad's drum set would be roughly 16 to 18 channels of audio, or maybe 20 channels of audio. You have a bass drum, a snare top and bottom, the tom-tom mics, overhead cymbals, mics in the room. Right. So you tell the DAW where, I can set the output so they show up on my console, specific channels in my console. So basically every mix I do, the channels show up the same on every mix because, this is where I like my drums. This is where I like my guitars.
Sure.
So it's dictated by how, you just tell it what outputs you want it to go to.
Wow. So you don't realize actually how much the mixer really is part of the album, because I mean, to have all those mics on the drums, you're really controlling what we're hearing, like the loudness of his cymbal or the loudness of his snare. That's a huge portion of the song that most fans aren't even thinking about on that level. Crazy.
Yeah. I mean,
that's what a mixer does.
Again, it's so, and the way in which you can manipulate all this audio, your imagination is your brick wall. So, I mean, you'd be shocked at how I can manipulate the stuff.
I have a thought here, Tom. So check this out, because every album that goes into it, there's so much that goes into mixing that I think it will be impossible for an AI to ever do what an actual final mixer does. To hear those little intricacies and know kind of what makes the song. But I do think, however, if you were to feed AI all the, unmixed tracks from Throwing Copper and say, take these and make them exactly what Tom did, it could probably recreate that mix relatively quick. But that's it's just recreating stuff. I don't think it could actually do what a final mix engineer does and get it to where, the sound comes alive or the music comes alive. What are your thoughts on that?
I have no idea. I mean, to be honest, I haven't looked in to see how it, how the AI stuff, works in regards to mixing. I guess I should.
Well, I just don't think it'll ever be able to touch what you do.
You may be able to tell to mix in this Tom Lord-Alge style. I don't know if anyone has applied AI to mixing. Probably someone has.
I don't. To be honest, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, look, it's really it's such a art form, I can mix the same song on 2 different days and get 2 different mixes depending on how I feel, but to be quite honest, most of the time it's going to be exactly the same because it's, generally speaking, the song has its identity and it speaks to me. But, again, there's certain things that like little stupid shit, AI is not going to know to run Taylor's tom-toms through this stupid fucking mini disc recorder with the bass boost turned on.
Right.
Remember I had this little trick I used to do?
Yes.
This Sony mini disc recorder had this killer compressor in it. And then when you came out, the headphone output had what was called mega bass. And I used to take Gracey's tom-toms and I would run it through them. It would compress them. And then when it came out, it would add this nice round bottom end, and those are the tom-tom sounds that we used on Throwing Copper.
Yeah, yep. So
wow,
you were like, look at this thing he's got set up.
Dude, I had one of those, bro. Those little fucking. They took these kind of discs that went in.
That's right. Yeah. It was like a little portable mini disc recorder.
Yeah.
And again, it was like I don't know how I figured it out, but I was like, when you record it, you could turn this compressor on in it. So that would keep the level at a certain spot. And it just seemed to work really well on tom-toms.
So cool. Yeah. And something like that completely changes the sound and whatnot.
But yeah, AI is not going to figure that out.
Yeah.
No,
I think
not.
I think there's a bunch of I think live performances will always be, done by human. I think, the recording of the music and stuff will be done by humans, the mixing. I think where it might come into play is maybe coming up with some ideas or some lyrics or, maybe help me with, I got this 4-chord chorus. Give me chords that would be good for, the verse or something. I don't know. But I don't think it'll ever do these intricate of jobs and the human aspect of things in entertainment.
Yeah. It'll probably rise up and kill us before it does that.
Yeah, right. Exactly. No, I mean, I think the AI is great in porn.
Oh yeah, agreed. The only way I watch porn now. Give me Pamela Anderson's head on some other hot chick's body, and yeah. I can't wait for those days, by the way. But Tom, the way we do it on this show is we always just introduce the guests to the audience and leave the audience wanting more. And I know for sure with you, they absolutely want more. So if you could direct them where they could find TLA online, if you want to.
Yeah, you go up on. I mean, so to be quite honest. I mean, thank you for allowing me to plug myself. I'm anti-social media, so I don't have. I'm not Instagram. I have no Facebook and none of that fucking crap. Snapchat, fucking TikTok.
You're better off without it.
I don't do any of that. I mean, I have a modest website, and to be quite honest, like I can't remember if it's lordalge.com or lordalge.net. You know, but it's one of those.
TomLord-Alge.com.
It's one of those, and the spankstudios.com. You know, but they're just, you know, they're just be sites that kind of give you like show you my studio and give you a brief history on me and basically, you know, contact you with my manager.
Yeah.
You know, basically I've been very fortunate that people have known how to get a hold of me.
I was just going to say, most of your businesses, I mean, all your business is probably just word of mouth, right? People just contact you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the records did the talking.
Right.
You know,
sure.
But
of
yeah,
course.
word of mouth, you know.
I was just gonna say, not having social media is like great for like what it's become. But so, do you have any people that maybe
you could also email my wife?
There you go.
Like, I saw a text come through from my wife while we were talking about that because she's watching upstairs.
She reminded
you could email Catherine. Catherine, I'm sorry, I just don't feel comfortable giving your email out.
I was just gonna say, don't do that.
Yeah,
don't do that.
You know, but again, you know, it's if they go onto, you know, I mean, for God's sake, just Google me.
Yeah, Tom Lord
if you
-alge.com to get to the website.
Right. That's the site. But yeah, if you go up there, there's a link that says contact. You know, and I get those emails.
Okay.
You know,
there you go.
But Tom, I did want to ask you this because, like I said, not being on social media is good for your mental state, all that stuff. But you haven't been curious, like to go on and see maybe somebody you went to grade school with, you haven't talked to in forever, or
so when I was curious, those were the first people that jumped on my Be My Friend.
Yeah.
And that was the main reason I said, I'm not having any of this.
How funny.
So let me, I can tell you why. So I've had a target on my back my entire career. Okay. So, you know, no matter what, everybody wants to tear you down because you're successful. So, you know, when you're mixing Throwing Copper and you're mixing the Green album and you're mixing Dave Matthews Band, you know, all these other cats, they just want to talk shit about you. Mm-hmm. So I just chose to, you know, not let them by not giving them ammunition. Boom. Okay. You want to talk shit about me? My mixes will do the talking, you know, but what I found is like, if I went up there and start, you know, especially the years when I was living in Miami Beach, you know, nobody needed that pushed in their face. You know, how fucking awesome my life was in Miami Beach and all the fucking debauchery that we fucking dealt with in the Blue House in Miami Beach and the shit that we did. You know, yeah, we shared the stories, but, you know, that didn't need to be pushed in anybody's face, you know, because it just gives them another reason to fucking hate you. And I've been a really firm believer in mystery is good.
Yes. But Tom, you know why they hate? Because they can't participate as well as you do, dude. That's exactly what it is.
So, but yeah.
Chad,
but the mystery portion, like, always keep them guessing. You know what I mean? Like, mystery is good.
For sure.
100%.
Chad, has Tom been to the studio in York?
Yes. Yeah.
I was the first one.
He was the first one. And he bought a lot of the breakfast appliances and like utensils.
Oh, dude,
I
had my fucking way with that place.
I love it.
With fucking, I mean, I remember Bill giving me shit about it. I'm like, I forgot what he said, but I'm like, Bill, I've had my way with every one of your fucking appliances.
Yeah, I heard you you needed to like some plate set, like you weren't happy with the plates and shit, so you went out and bought all new eateries.
Yeah, dude, I did whatever we had to do.
I love it.
You know, but because we were, you know, my assistant at the time, Eddie Randini, who unfortunately passed away a decade ago.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
Sorry to hear that.
We were there for like 3 weeks, you know,
Yes.
and we spent like the first week or 10 days, you know, kind of getting the control room ready to mix. It wasn't really ready.
Yeah, it was just,
but
just
the guys were awesome. And during that time, like we got hit with a couple of snowstorms where, you know, we were the only ones in the place for like 2 or 3 days, you know, so we had it set up so that, you know, we could survive. And, you know, it was, you know, we had a really, it was tough at times, you know, because sometimes we got close to running out of beer on draft.
That's right.
You know, in the bar that was downstairs. You know? I mean, and that would have become a real catastrophe.
I was going to say, you need like
not been good.
You need like a state store or something in PA to get liquor. It's not like you can go to some, or it's something weird. I forget what the law is.
No, well, they had a stocked bar at 210.
Yes.
You know,
I drank it all now, Tom. We got to restock that. I put my dent on it.
Tom's been helping us with some new stuff too. Bill and I.
Rock on.
Yeah, we started.
The place was awesome. I have great memories of being there. You know, and again, it was just you know, I really enjoyed my time there, and Eddie and I had a fantastic time, and it was, you know, I mean, to be quite honest, I mean, I felt that record that you did with Chris,
The Turn,
yeah, I mean, it had that song Siren's Call,
Siren Call,
which was fucking sick.
Killer.
Yeah.
It's sick. And Siren's Call, I recommend all your listeners and viewers go check that out and tell me that does not have the feel of Lakini's Juice without the strings.
Right. Without the strings.
Without the strings.
It has a similar kind of really dark guitar lick. You know what I mean? And the band sounds fucking great on it. Shin kicked ass on it.
Yeah, Shin was great.
And that particular song on that album is fucking killer. And I actually listened to that recently, and I'm like, God, that's a good song.
Yeah, I've been making drum videos on my YouTube channel. I just recorded 62310 Rogerton, so I'm about to put that out. That's nice. Cool songs on there too. Yeah, I want to do Sirens Call at some point, but I'm getting around all the songs. Yeah, that was what I was saying earlier. Is that Bill and I started this agency on TikTok, and we're signing here and there. We signing musical artists, and we just had Tom mix one of the musical artists named Tori V.
Tori V.
She's interesting.
A white girl doing hip hop.
That's right. I was curious if you know, when Bill brought up like, should we have Tom mix this? I'm like, well, if he likes it, yeah. And you know, and I was like, send it to him, see if he likes it. If he likes it, he'll do it. If not, he'll just like, nah.
I was just saying, we already learned Tom will mix it even if he doesn't like it. He'll just make it the TLA mix, but he still will put his hands on it if he's.
No, I mean, they played it for me. I listened to it. I'm like, okay, I could do something with this.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's not in the normal genre of music that I do, but I enjoyed it. I had a good time doing it. And to be quite honest, like, I feel very satisfied because they were happy and the artist was happy.
Yep.
You know,
Sounds great.
You know, after hearing, so they sent me what's called a rough mix, you know, which is just kind of a work in progress. And it was so fucking dreadful sounding. I said, "Oh no, this, you know, I can make this sound better, you know." And and again, I was very pleased with it. The girl, I mean, I don't know her. I've never met her. You know, Bill shared with me a couple of videos that she puts up on TikTok. You know, she's this, you know, very pleasing to the eyes. I could say, and she's this cute girl, white girl that does hip hop, and then she does in this particular song that we did called "Big Bad Wolf." She also has these voices, which I call, or they're called, inside my head, which are kind of like these alter egos of her during the song, which are fucking hilarious.
Dude.
You know, it's kind of like a big bad wolf. Think of like Friday the 13th kind of thing, you know, with the big bad wolf. And she's, you know, bitch, I'm the big bad wolf. She's the big bad wolf.
And John, you should go
then
follow
all of a
her
sudden
on
there's like these other voices that pop out of the left and right speaker, which are just these like screwy, almost comedic kind of things. And I just thought, I could get this to work.
Right. Yes.
You know, and so amazing. It was fun. You know, I mean, again, as I sat down, you know, they sent me the song, and I said, okay, let me see what I can do. And as I sat down and started to just kind of ascertain what is what, next thing I know, it's like midnight, and I'm almost completely done with the mix. And I hadn't planned on starting it for 2 more days, but I had just like, as I was kind of decided, because they sent it to me and she was having an issue with the files and how they were labeled. So basically what I got was, like 40 or 50 tracks of audio that were just labeled like audio.
Oh,
they weren't called audio, but they were like, it wasn't clear. Like, this is the vocal.
Yeah.
This is, I had to listen to every part and figure out what the fuck it was.
Wow.
And once I got through, doing that and labeling it all, next thing because as I was listening to it, I'm making, manipulating it and balancing it. Next thing I know, I'm like, it's midnight. Oh, fuck, I'm almost done with this. And then I woke up the next morning and I spent, 2 or 3 hours on it and finished it off, sent it out. And she came back, she had a couple of comments, no problem. And yeah, again, I would work with her and again in a heartbeat. I enjoyed the situation. I except for the labeling part, the whole thing worked out just fine. And Chad, do you like the mix?
Yeah, I do. I love it. I think it sounds amazing.
Well, there you go. And then, so that to me is my goal. That the artist and the people involved, that they love the mix. That's my goal in mixing.
I was impressed that you, because I told Bill, I was like, sometimes with certain mixes, like he'll just say, this is the mix. He doesn't want any more input, but he took some notes from the artist.
Yeah, well, because her comments were, although she had me remove some of the stuff that I thought was cool, it didn't change how effective. Yeah, it didn't. Like, in other words, they were like, on that particular song, like, I took her, there's a vocal in the bridge, and I had kind of, telephoned it, to give it a different dynamic. And, she didn't like that. So it wasn't like that particular treatment that I didn't make or break that part of the song.
Right.
So when I took it off, I was like, yeah, this is fine. It still is as effective as it was before.
You weren't going to die on that hill. It wasn't.
No, exactly. Like, it was just a piece of ear candy, because the song is really, it's a beat. It has this, a couple of musical parts that just go through the whole song. But the main thing of the song is her vocal.
Yep.
It's really what carries the whole song. It's about the story that she's telling and how she's telling it, and all these other characters that bounce back and forth in the left and right. So again, it didn't change. It didn't make it, it just got rid of what could have been distracting maybe to her, was audio ear candy.
Right.
Whoopie-doo. I got over it real quick,
There you go.
Do we have a release date on this yet, or no?
I'm not sure what she's doing with it yet.
Gotcha. All right. Well,
release it, but
we will certainly let the audience know, because I'm excited to hear after hearing you guys describe it and all that jazz. Got a little excitement going. And
cool.
I heard she's a looker too, so I don't mind.
Go check her out on
She's pleasing to the eye.
Tom, don't you think as the mixer, maybe I should be in the video as like the love interest, and like we should have a nude scene together? I think that would really add to the song. Just saying.
Yeah, well, she's the big bad wolf, bitch. She's gonna fucking rip your fucking head off.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Lay those fangs right in your neck.
Grandma, what big teeth you have.
That's exactly right. What? So, are you wrapping it up here?
Tom, we could do whatever you want. We usually cut it around this time, but we're good if you got some.
Okay, so, I'm going to put Gracey on the spot.
Oh, boy.
Yes.
So, let's, I haven't talked to Gracey. Well, we talked last week when we were talking about.
But it's been too long, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been quite a time. I mean, I don't think we've spoken since we did the 210 York album.
Yeah, since Turn, yeah. It's been
so that's been that's almost a decade ago.
Too long.
Crazy.
So I'm just going to ask the question. What the fuck?
I know. A lot of shit went
because
down.
I reached out to Ed.
Yep.
And he's like, I'm at a wedding, I'll call you back. And and this is like 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay.
And I never heard back from him. Taylor reached out to me a couple times, but again, I look, I love all you guys.
Appreciate that.
Taylor, he with all love and respect, he just has verbal diarrhea. So, he would benefit from using less words.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he's a great podcast
I have
guest.
to take some of the things that he says with a grain of salt.
Right. Yes.
But
well, I mean,
this is just for me. Like,
yeah.
What happened?
Just a short version. Taylor and I had some beef because we had a company together called Think Loud Holdings that when I was getting divorced, he refused to provide financials for, to the point where I was like asking him as a friend, as a person that I've known for years and years and years, like, please give me these financials, and he just wouldn't produce them. And so without any other recourse, I sued him for that. We're now talking again. We're getting shit worked out, which is great. On the Ed side, Ed came to me in summer of 22, and said, "Hey, I want to vote out Chad as a guitar player, and come on, we can go on tour." And I'm like, okay, well, let's get Patrick involved in this too. The three of us better than two of us. And like I said, I was not happy with Chad at the time, so we voted him out. And so
there was a lot of reasons to that too, but that's,
But the whole gist of Ed and I's understanding was that I'm voting with you to get Chad out. I'm coming on tour with you. Great, let's go. And so it comes time to do. We get shows booked. There's got an itinerary. There's money coming in, and he comes to me and says, I don't. At that point, I had not sued Chad, but I was going to. And he's like, I just don't want drama on the stage. I don't want any drama. I don't want to have anything to do with your drama. And I'm like, I'm not going to talk about it. Like, what's going on here? So basically, he induced me into giving his vote so he could take over the band, is what it basically came down to. And that's what he's doing right now. So he's touring without.
I see. I have a friend of mine is his tour manager, and I haven't gone to see them yet, only because I've been busy every time they're around.
Sure.
But yeah, I had noticed that. Ed's got the name, and it's Ed.
And there was a lot of like no communication between the guys at some parts, so they were getting parts of the story from all different angles and stuff. So now a lot of the story is starting to come to light, and relationships are being talked to and mended a little bit, and starting to realize where cancer was in the band.
It is nice to know that you're in communication with Taylor, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and what about Patrick?
Right now, Patrick is not talking to me because he was kind of on the other side of that business with Chad, and I had to sue the company.
Right.
And so he's not happy with me because I had to basically sue him, and that's fine. He'll get over it at some point, I think. And
well, I mean, I get the asking for financials and the frustration of not getting them. I understand that, and I would, if I was in your shoes, I would have done exactly the same thing. It's like, the only reason I believe that you're not giving my the financials that I'm asking for is because you're trying to hide something.
Right.
I mean, it's as simple as that. If you're not trying to hide anything, then you're willing
right.
to give them over because legally you're entitled to them, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
oh, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so the reason I bring it up is I wanted to just then go back and go, I put so much effort into trying to get Ed back into the band. So, during the time, the gracious few years.
Yeah.
I also, as you guys are probably well aware, I mixed Kowalczyk solo albums.
Sure.
And there was a time that he was down in Miami mixing a solo album when I think you guys were, I think it was doing a Gracious Few show in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, wow.
And, I had arranged it, a
little sit
I
down.
had, sneakily arranged to get Ed up to that gig because I figured,
oh really?
Let's get the guys face to face.
Oh wow!
And because that was my goal, because I was hearing what Live was doing or what the Gracious Few, those cats were doing, and I was hearing what Ed was doing, and no disrespect.
But why aren't they doing it together?
Correct.
Yeah.
I just felt that there's no reason, that these guys should not be making music again together. So
right.
Yeah.
Well,
I was very pleased when it did come together, and you guys kind of went out and you did the tour, but true to form, it spontaneously combusted, and that shit happens. And
this when it came back together, the first thing I said to everybody was, "Hey, band therapy, let's do it." Like Some Kind of Monster, like Metallica, just even if we don't film it, band therapy. Let's get all the shit out on the table, get everybody's thoughts and feelings, and friggin' I'm pissed at you because of this, and I don't like you because I wanted to do that. No one else wanted to do it. I've tried to get management to do it. They wouldn't do it. And it came back to me and said, we're just going to not talk about anything in the past and move forward. I'm like, sounds like Tragedy, ready to go.
Yeah, that's a sound idea.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
So, but no, I mean,
anyway.
Again, I always felt very fondly. Oh, well, I do feel very fondly for the guys, and again, it was my mission. I made it my personal mission to kind of at least try to get Ed back in the good graces of the other three cats.
So what happened there, Tom? How were you trying to?
Yeah, that worked out for me.
Ed there? Well, I'm just saying, how were you trying to get Ed to the show without him knowing kind of where he was going?
Oh, I was just saying, we're going to some show. I mean,
how funny.
I forgot how I did it, but what happened is he got wind of it.
Yeah.
Either you guys got wind of it or he got wind of it. I can't remember if we ended up going through with it.
Yeah.
But I remember in the 11th hour that there was, again, a little bit of drama. And, I don't remember exactly how I handled it, but knowing me, I would probably just been like, just suck it up and go see the fuckers.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably would have just been, that kind of tough love. Like, really? Stop being a fucking baby.
Right.
You guys just get together and say hello. For God's sake, you all fucking grew up together. You made these killer fucking records. Then, just go. You're just going to see a fucking show.
Right.
Come on. Yeah. Peter Gabriel went and saw Genesis a couple of times. Come on.
You know what, Tom? So I always said, like, Live's a great band. They're four friends. They'll never break up, blah, blah, blah. They grew up together. But when you think about it, like, some people do, but not many people are hanging out with people they went to 8th grade with and still like so kumbaya and friends. Like, they were together so long. They were dealing with each other, basically as 8th graders, even as they got this fame. Like, they never, I guess, really treated themselves differently than when they were younger. And that relationship goes so long. Like, so you kind of see where it could fall apart, even though they have all that history together. The history could kind of be what makes it fall apart.
No, and again, look, resentments ran deep, and again, what Chad Gracey just said about, Taylor refusing to give the financials. I mean, that just doesn't go away.
Right.
That resentment just doesn't go away, and in the way that Taylor literally led Gracey to this path that Gracey reluctantly had to walk down because, like, this is fucking, I'm entitled to this shit, so anyway.
Right.
I just, I wanted to at least discuss it, while I had Gracey on the blower here, just to get his, because again, I mean, Taylor said what Taylor had to say. And again, I haven't talked to Dolheimer or Ed about it, so
it shows
but
character.
Now I have two parts of the puzzle.
Yeah.
And I look forward to, look, Patrick, I love Patrick to pieces, and hopefully
awesome.
I'll have a conversation with him, because I love that guy. He lived in Miami Beach for a while, and he's just a good fucking guy and just a ridiculous bass player.
A sweetheart, too, yeah.
That right, yep.
Yeah, and he's just a great guy. He's the guy you want to hang out and have some beers with. He's just a
my
cool
mother,
guy.
Chad, I'm not going to bring it up. Well, my mother smoked weed with him in a closet way back in the day, Patrick Dolheimer. So
nice.
She knows he's a guy that you want to hang out with. I'll put it that way.
That's funny.
So yeah, but that's it for the for talking about. Thanks for talking about that, Chad.
Absolutely, man.
I
got no problem. Yeah, no problem. You
appreciate
deserve to know. You're a big part of our history, so I'm happy to talk about it.
Yeah, again, happy to have been there. I can't tell you how many albums I mixed for you guys. I know there's at least 3.
Oh yeah,
maybe 4.
Yeah, well, if you started and did a song off Mental Jewelry, and then
that wasn't a whole album, so I don't really count that. So you got Throwing Copper, Secret Samadhi, This is Here.
You didn't do 5. I don't think you did 5, but you did Birds of Prey, didn't you?
Yeah, Birds of Prey.
Did you do songs from Black Mountain?
No.
I didn't do that one. And then with the Turn, obviously, and then the Gracious Few. We didn't talk about the Gracious Few. That was
he did the Gracious Few.
No, that was a fun record. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, he did the Gracious Few.
Yeah, those guys. They came down to Miami Beach, and we
had Phoenix down there. He was 6 months old.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right. That's fucking.
Phoenix is 6'3" now.
Fuck yeah, he's as tall as me. That's congratulations. That's
I'm looking up at him like, hey,
yeah, I heard. And would you say 15?
Yeah.
Fuck.
That means he's going to have some growing to do as well. I mean, he's not done yet. 15.
Yeah.
But no, it was a good time. I remember that project. We ate and drank very well.
Yes, we did.
I think Jerry came down, right? Jerry produced that album, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Jerry. Yeah, we put the band back together. It was good times.
Mm-hmm.
It was good fun. Yeah.
And Kevin's a great. Kevin Martin's awesome, and Sean Hennessy.
Kevin was great. Yeah. I think Carol Harrison was down as well. So Carol provided the drama.
That's right.
I remember. That's I think what I remember. There was something going on with Carol Harrison during that record, because I remember there was a little drama with her.
Drama was always fun.
But yeah, Carol was a good woman, and I always like her. She was always fun to have around, and she was great. Again for late night activities. She always had some
fun stuff.
Yeah, some fun stuff set up. But yeah.
Well, now I know who I'm hanging out with next time I go to Florida. I'll be giving you a call, Tom. You sound like the fun
he's
one.
in Austin now.
I'm in Austin, brother. I'm in Austin, brother. Yeah.
When I'm out there.
If look, I'm not gonna lie. I miss Miami. We were just down there a couple of weeks ago, and it's I miss it, but I had to get out.
So how'd you meet your nice Texas girl then? Was she in Miami or?
No, I met her. Yeah, interesting story. With my brother Chris and I and Phil Wagner, who works for Solid State Logic, we were flying from New York to Paris to go see the Rolling Stones. I'm gonna say it's 2018, maybe something like that. And Phil Wagner caught a glimpse of this cute little blonde in the Admirals Club. And he started chatting her up. So we all kind of went over and we're hanging out and having cocktails. And it turns out that she's also flying over to Paris to see the Rolling Stones.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
And of course, I'm like, well, you kind of want to hang out with us. And she's like, oh, no, I don't.
Oh, no, I don't.
And it turns out she was staying at the hotel literally right next to us. She was staying at the George Sank, which is the Four Seasons where the band was staying. We were staying at the Le Cire, which is right next door to the George Sank. And again, we just kind of became, chummy. And so after the show, we all went to the show. We all went together to the show. And then I'm like, you really kind of want to come and hang out with us? And she's like, no, I don't. And she went down and stood in the pit. And we stood with Dave and Natella at front of house.
Right.
Which is fucking awesome.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Best place.
But yeah, so that's how we met. And after the show, I'm kind of texting her, I'm trying to weasel my way in.
I like how you got the number. You preemptive. You were ready. Yeah, good.
Yes. So, I'm trying to weasel my way in. And she responds with the, well, I don't sleep with strangers. And I'm like, who plans on sleeping?
Oh, by the way, my name's Tom Lord-Alge. Nice to meet you.
And
we're no longer
needless to say, I mean,
exactly.
we and the other funny thing is she sat in the seat in front of me on the plane, on the flight to Paris.
Oh,
So
wow.
anyway, we became friends. We obviously traded contact information, and she went off to Greece to see her family, and then Chris, Phil, and I went to Poland, to Warsaw, to see another Stone show. And I didn't hear from her. It wasn't until maybe a year later I got a phone call or a text message from her. Hey, I'm in Miami Beach for in Miami Beach for a bachelorette party, and I'd like to give you what I should have given you in Paris.
Yeah, baby.
Hey.
And I knew what that means. I'm like, come on over. And I think that she told me that the Uber driver was telling her, because she shows up in this Hervé Leger dress, just dressed to the nines. And when I opened the door, I was like,
hey, now.
Holy shit, this girl's more beautiful than I remember. She was just stunning.
So
and
cool.
She is stunning. She still is stunning. And she was telling me the Uber driver was kind of do you know what you're getting into going to this house? Because my house is infamous.
Oh shit, reputation.
Infamous.
He's blowing up your spot like that? How rude.
Yeah. But yeah, she came over and there you go. There you go. And so, yeah, so we started dating. And then the next time that we got back to, it was during the pandemic. The next time that we got back to the place where we met at the Admirals Club, JFK, next time we got back there, I proposed to her.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Cool.
So the exact spot that we met, I proposed to her. We were flying to Milan. And then we got married here in Austin at the Rolling Stones concert.
Wow.
At front of house position. In between the set and the encore.
Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, we got married in between the set and the encore. And again, thank you to Dave Nattell for allowing Catherine and I and our families, which is her parents and her brother and his girlfriend. And then my brothers were there and my sister. No, my sister wasn't there. My brothers were there, allowing us to kind of take over his front of house position. And
was that band sanctioned?
So of course, the Stones went on late that night because the traffic getting out to that venue was horrendous. So we thought we'd have enough time in between the set for Phil. We had Phil Wagner ordained, who introduced us. We had him ordained, so he was going to do the ceremony. And because the Stones went on late, the time in between the set and the encore, they had shortened. But we thought there'd be enough time. Ooh. So Phil is going through, he's reciting the vows, and all of a sudden, Gimme Shelter starts.
Oh, no way.
And I'm like, Phil, you better
speed it up.
And now we can't fucking hear him.
Wow.
So I'm like, Phil, just cut to the end. So he did, and blah, blah, blah. And we all, yay. And then Chris brought over a wedding cake, which was a platter of venue pretzels.
Yummy.
Which I thought was great.
That's awesome.
Which I thought was great. And then, oh my God, I'm just remembering that. So it's that Circuit of the Americas where they have the Formula One race.
Mm-hmm.
And there's really only like one main way out. But Chris had asked an usher, is there a quicker way to get out off the track from where the stage is to get to the parking lot? And the person was like, yeah, go, to the left. So we went out, we took that as the way to go. And it was a big mistake.
Oh, no.
Oh, shit.
So I'm there with all of the party, her parents, and we have to walk like a mile to this exit where I can see through the fence. Our car is right there, like literally right there. And what we proceeded to do was tear down these fences.
Oh,
I'm doing this on my wedding day, right? With my in-laws there. Catherine and Catherine's brother and I were kicking down these fucking fences, right? To get to the car. We get to the last fence that leads us to the car. It's next to this bathroom, right? And of course, all the women have to take a piss. And I'm like, don't do it. Just come now. So we knocked down this fence and we're waiting for them to come out of the bathroom. And before they could get out of the bathroom, security showed up and ushered them all out. And they had to walk out the other exit.
Oh, man.
And me and her brother had, come out right where the car was. And we had to wait there for like 30 minutes for them to walk around.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
But yeah. It's like, welcome to the family.
Yeah. Well, Tom, I was going to say.
That was a great story. Wow. That's
awesome. I was going to say, the way you met your wife, like, it's so romantic. You're on a plane from New York to Paris to go see the Stones. Like, how do you kind of recreate these times? But you ended up doing it with Milan and the wedding at the show. That's freaking awesome, man.
Yeah. Now we, when the Stones tour, we'll go to a couple of shows, and our gag is now what we always try to include is to get the last show of the tour. So example, like we went to the last show that Charlie Watts played at, which just happened to be in Miami.
Oh, wow.
Because you never know when the last Rolling Stones show is going to be.
Oh, true.
Right. That's true.
We did not, this last tour, because they added one other show, and I didn't feel like going up to Michigan or wherever the fuck it was. We did do what was scheduled to be the last show. It was in just outside of San Francisco a year or so ago. And I took Derek Whibley from Sum 41. He and his wife joined us, and Derek had bought seats on the floor. Derek is like 4'11". And I'm like, Derek, where are your seats? And he's like, last row on the floor. I'm like, Derek, come and hang out with us.
Right.
And he's like, oh no, I really like my seats. I'm like, Derek, come and hang out with us. And reluctantly he came, and we stood up in front of the house. And after the show, he goes, that was the most amazing experience I've ever had.
I love it.
You know what I mean? One, you have a clear view of the stage, but two, watching Dave Nattel mix the band, and he mixes on an old Yamaha analog console.
Wow.
It's such a fucking treat to watch him mix the Stones.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And Derek was like, he goes, that was so awesome. And it inspired me. I went home and I took his song Fat Lip and I pulled the vocals out. I did a remix of Fat Lip and I threw in Rolling Stones lyrics. So I was able to strip the lyrics from oh fuck, oh shit, I can't remember the Stones song, but there were songs from, I think, from Tattoo You.
I would start throwing stuff out.
Beast of Burden.
Yo.
Oh shit.
Beast of Burden. I took Beast of Burden as the verse.
Wow.
And I forgot and then the bridge I used parts from Gimme Shelter. But yeah, and I sent it to Derek and he goes, you're fucking out of your mind. And it works perfectly.
Awesome.
It works absolutely perfectly. The Fat Lip, Beast of Burden.
That's great.
Same key and everything.
Can we hear that somewhere, Tom?
No.
Like, is that out? Damn it, dude. How dare you?
No,
I'm
well,
like,
it's not my song. So I wish that I could say, I mean, yeah, I could ask Derek, but I gave it to Derek as a gift. I'm like, here's something for, just because I know you like the Stones so much. Here's what it sounds like. It's the Stones singing behind your music.
So cool, man.
So yeah, cool. Maybe I'll ask him if he doesn't mind if I release it or do something with it, but it's not mine to release.
Sure. If you want somebody to leak it for you, and it just arrives in my email, I won't know anything.
The issue is he if it gets leaked, he knows where the source is.
Exactly.
Exactly. Only one source.
Yeah. Right. I have to. Unfortunately, I have to be professional.
No, I get it.
Unfortunately.
Well, we had a blast with you, dude. I hope you'll come on again in the future, because we're definitely gonna have you back on if you would. You were just a blast, dude. You really gave us some insight into some cool ass shit you did from mid '80s to now. With this new thing coming out with a TikToker. Do you ever think you'd be working with TikTokers, Tom?
Hell no. Hell no.
Not on the radar.
But hey, look, I mean, that's the great thing about music. It's, it's different every day.
Yeah.
And it's, again, you're always learning. So there you go.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Well, thank you for coming on again.
Hopefully she'll make it happen for her.
Yes.
Yeah. She's got a good team.
Yeah, she does.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to get you to learn a TikTok dance for your next appearance, Tom. So we'll send you the moves so you can start learning them now.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Be good. Thank you for coming on, dude.
Thank you, Tom. Great to see you, man.
Peace.
Stay in touch.
The one and only Tom Lord-Alge, folks. How awesome was that?
He was great. That was awesome. I knew it would be good, but that was better than I thought it would be. So it's awesome.
Nailed it.
I know it would be great. Actually, he's such, he's a great human being. He has great stories. He's, he had great delivery of his stories. He has a great personality. So it's awesome.
Secure in his own skin.
Mm-hmm.
Not afraid to tell the story like it is. Perfect for the podcast. That was fun. Treat for me for sure, and I'm sure for the audience.
Yeah, well, you got to ask him about DMB, and
they know.
I was going to ask him if he knew about the beef between us and Live and DMB, but I didn't get a chance to. Next time.
I know. And then he got into what was going on with you in Live too. I think he got in some stuff too that was maybe we didn't touch on the show here. Let the audience in on a little stuff. So that was kind of cool too.
Yeah.
Bird's eye view,
cool.
baby.
Hell yeah.
Let's. I want to let the audience know that our young Bobby is going through some stuff. He was at the doctor's last week. That's why he couldn't make it to the Friday show with Our Lady Peace drummer Jason Pierce, not the other Jason Pierce who I found on Wikipedia. Anyway,
I suppose he had pneumonia.
Yeah, in 2005. I'm like, Jason, I got to ask you about this really shitty part of 2005. But anyway, I don't know if you want to go into anything, Bobby, but if you just want to ask for some good vibes and whatever, but the floor is yours, man.
Yeah, I just want to tell everybody thank you. I mean, I've been getting blasted on my Facebook, my socials. Everybody's been sending good vibes my way, and I appreciate it. I really do.
Well, I'm going to ask the audience to stop sending those good vibes and to start sharing. That's more important. Share this broadcast. Forget Bobby and his good vibes. Just share. Right, Chad?
That's right. Exactly.
We don't care if Bobby gets better, audience. We just want you to share this broadcast. That's all. fuck the prayers, fuck the vibes. But yeah, dude. So there's that. So hopefully he's got a checkup coming up soon. So hopefully all goes well.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Worst comes to worst, they said the oxygen from his brain is getting cut off. That's why he thinks the earth is flat. They might need to reroute some tubes. And yeah, so there is that. But we want to thank you folks for coming on this journey with us. We are the Gracious 2 Inches. I mean, the Gracious 2 podcast. Gracious 2 Inches will be on OnlyFans coming soon.
Right. Only OnlyFans.
That's right. But thank you.
Peace, everybody.